I felt the door before I saw anybody come out of it. That is how it works. Throw a door that heavy hard enough, and it comes down through the porch, across the lawn, into the soles of your boots. I was 40 feet away on my knees in a flower bed, and felt it come up through the ground. Then people started running. My name is Corinne Talley. I was 38 that summer, and I cut grass for a living. 6 houses a day in Gwinnett County, Georgia. Half the signs on that road are in Korean and half in English, and I cannot hear either one. I have been deaf since the day I was born. The house belonged to Seo Taijun. Everybody on that crew knew what the Seo family was. Nobody said it out loud. A lawn is a lawn. 9 adults came out of that house in under a minute. 2 of them had guns under their jackets. Every one of them was doing the same thing. They were shouting his name, along the fence line, down at the road. One man stood in the driveway with both hands cupped around his mouth, turning in a circle. The boy was 4 years old. The boy was deaf. Not one of those 9 people was looking. I put down the trowel and stood up. I did what I have done my whole life in every room I enter. I stopped waiting to be told and started at the edges, low down, where a small person goes. I found him in 90 seconds. He was under the deck stairs behind the pool house, packed into the gap between the concrete and the lattice. Both hands pressed flat over his ears. Not because of the noise. He could not hear it. He did it. Because when everything happens at once, and nobody will tell you what, you cover the part of you they called broken. I know that, because I used to do it too. I got down where he could see my face, and I did not touch him. I said nothing out loud, because words out loud were the whole problem in that house. I put my hands up where he could see them, and made him one shape. Slowly, twice, he watched it. Then he made it back, understand what that was. That child was 4, and he did not have a language. Not one. His family had been told to wait. They waited, and he nearly ran out of the years a person gets. Now he had a shape, and he had exactly one. 2 things nobody in that house understood yet. Why did a woman on the lawn crew find him in 90 seconds when 9 people could not? And what happens to that family when the only person their son can talk to drives home at 5? Stay with me. Nobody in this story gets fixed. The house does. 9 people came around that pool house at once, and I did not hear one of them. I knew because the boy's eyes went past my shoulder and his whole body locked up. That is the other thing about being deaf. You learn to watch the person in front of you for news about what is behind you. The father got there. First, he went down on the concrete in his good trousers and put both hands out, and the boy went to him. Not fast. The way you go to somebody because there is nobody else. Then, he turned around and said something to me. I know he said something because I watched his mouth move and because every person standing behind him stopped moving at the same time. That is how you can tell when a man like that has spoken. People believe deaf people can take words off a mouth. Some of us can. A little. Mostly it is guessing. And the guessing is exhausting in a way hearing people never quite believe. On a good day, in good light, I might get a third of it. That means good light and a face that is not tired, not angry, and not turned away. I got none of that afternoon because he was looking down at his son the whole time he talked. I pointed at my ear and shook my head once. He stopped. Everybody stopped. Then a woman came through the middle of all those men with a dish towels still over her shoulder. She was the first person on that property who did anything useful. Her name was Erline. 63, black, built like somebody who has stood up all day for 40 years and intends to keep doing it. She handed me a phone with the Notes app already open. She also fingerspelled her name at me. Slowly, and with the letters a little bit wrong. The way somebody does who learned the alphabet once, a long time ago, and never got any further. I liked her immediately. We did the rest of it on that phone. He typed. I typed, It is a stupid way to have a conversation, and it is the only way that room had. He typed an amount of money. It was a lot of money. It was more than I make in a year of 6 houses a day. He typed it without any expression at all, the way you would type a phone number. I did not touch it. I typed one question instead. What is his name? He typed back that his son was called Seo Minyu, and that he was 4. I could tell from the way the sentence came out that he thought I had misunderstood, so I typed it again, differently. What is his name in his hands? He looked at that for a long moment. Then he passed the phone to the grandmother, who had come out onto the terrace and had not come down the steps. She typed one word back, English. I stood on that concrete with a phone in my hand and asked 3 more questions. I already knew every answer before I asked. What does he do with his hands when he is hungry? Nothing. What does he do when something hurts? Nothing. What does he call you? There was a long gap before that one came back. When it did, it came from the father and not from her. Nothing. 4 years old. A house with 9 adults in it, 2 of them armed. A swimming pool, a cook, a driver, and a specialist flown in twice a year from somewhere expensive. And that child could not tell any of them that his stomach hurt. Erline walked me out to the truck afterwards. Out past the gate, out of sight of the terrace, she stopped and typed with both thumbs. She looked back at the house twice while she did it. Rule of that house is no hands, it said. Not the boy, not the staff, not anybody. Doctor told them 4 years back that signing would stop him learning to talk. Told them pick one and stay with it. She picked, and she watches. Erline typed one more line after that, and then deleted it before I could take it in. I did not ask her what it said. In that house, you could get a woman fired for a sentence. The father wanted to hire me into the house. Nanny, companion, whatever word made it sound legal. I said no. I typed that I would keep the lawn instead, and that I wanted it 3 days a week rather than 1. He did not understand why. I could see that. A man who has bought the solution to every problem since he was 20 does not understand this. A woman turning down the front door and asking for the side gate. But I knew exactly what would happen if I took that job. The first time that boy saw my hands move, somebody would tell his grandmother, and I would be gone by Friday. Nobody gets fired for cutting grass. He typed yes, and when I drove out through the gate that evening, I looked up the way you do. Min Yu was standing at the window on the 2nd floor, with both palms flat against the glass. He watched my truck the whole way down the drive. Before I go on, do 2 things for me. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from tonight. And tell me this. If you only got 1 word and it was the only word you had, what would you want it to be? Think about it while I tell you what happened on the Thursday. The lawn at that house takes 4 hours if you do it properly. I did it properly. I edged the beds and did the strip along the pool fence that nobody can see from the road. Then I worked slowly along the sides of the house, where the kitchen window is. On the Thursday, Min Yu came out. Nobody sent him. He came down the terrace steps in socks and walked across 40 feet of cut grass. He stopped about 6 feet away, which is exactly the distance a child keeps from somebody they have decided about. I turned the mower off and sat down on the grass. That is the whole trick, and I will tell it to you for free. Get low, wait. Do not reach. He stood there for maybe 2 minutes. Then he came and sat down, not beside me, but near enough that we were looking at the same patch of ground. I put my hands up and made the shape from the pool house. He made it back. Then I did something else. I picked a dandelion out of the grass, held it up between us, and made the sign for flower. He watched my hand go to my nose and across. He looked at the dandelion. Then he did it badly, with the wrong fingers, and in the wrong place. And he laughed out loud, the way deaf children laugh when they do not know anybody is listening. That was the first word he ever owned. I want to say something here, because people get this wrong constantly. I did not give that boy language. Nobody gives anybody language. Language is not a present. You build it out of 1,000 small exchanges with somebody who bothers to keep answering you. By the time you notice it is there, you cannot say who built which part. What I did was start answering him. By the second week, he had 11 signs: flour, water, more, no, dog, hot, hurt, finish, mine, help, and one for me. The one for me he made up himself. He put 2 fingers up near his temple and pulled them out sideways, and it took me a while to work out what it was. It was my sunglasses. He named me after the sunglasses I wear on that lawn 8 hours a week. It was a good name sign, and by every rule that matters, it was a real one, because it came from him. The rules for those are strict, and hearing people usually do not know them. And I will not pretend I was calm about it. You do not pick your own name sign. Somebody in the community gives it to you. It is not a nickname. It is nearer to being handed a chair at a table you were standing beside. That boy had never once been given anything he did not have to be grateful for. He gave me a chair, the next part I planned. I want to be honest about that, because it was not kindness, and it was not spontaneous. His grandmother had a rule about hands inside that house. Fine. I was not inside that house. But the boy could see the kitchen window from the terrace, and Erline stood at that window for 6 hours a day. So on the Tuesday I taught Erline. She came out with a glass of iced tea I had not asked for and put it down on the step. Then she stood there, with her arms folded, and said something. I watched her mouth. She was slow, and she faced me properly. She was the only person on that property who had worked out on her own that you have to do both. You are teaching him, is what she said, or near enough. I nodded. She looked back at the house. Then she held out both her hands, palms up, and waited. I taught her 9 signs in 20 minutes. She was 63, and her fingers did not want to make some of the shapes. She made me do the one for water 4 separate times. I am too old for this, she said. I typed back, he is 4. He has less time than you do. She stopped complaining after that. Then I did the other thing. I put my hands up and made a shape at her. 2 fingers, moving out from the corner of the mouth, 1 small curve. She frowned at me. What is that? That is you, I typed. She looked at it. Then she looked at it again. Erline's Wilkes had cooked in that house for 12 years. She stood on the back step, holding a dish towel, and cried in a way I do not think she had planned on. She had that name for less than a week before she started using it on herself. I would come up the drive, and she would be at the window. She would make her own name and point at the kettle, which is not correct usage, and which I never corrected. By the end of that second week, there were 3 of us. Minyu had learned that if you make a shape at a person, sometimes the person makes one back. That is the entire foundation. Everything else in this story is built on that one discovery. He made it at 4 years old on a lawn, from a woman who was not allowed in the house. On the Friday, I was loading the mower into the truck when I felt somebody behind me. Ko Byung-chul had driven for that family for 20 years. 56, gray at the sides, jacket on in August because a driver keeps his jacket on. He had watched me from the car every single day for 2 weeks and never once come over. He came over. He stood there in the heat with his hands at his sides. He did not type anything, and he said nothing I could catch. Then he put both hands out, palms up, the same way Erline had. He wanted one, too. Nobody in that house ever held a meeting about it. That is the part I think about most. There was no moment where the staff sat down and decided to break a rule. It went sideways, person to person, the way things actually move through a building. Byung-chul learned 9 signs and taught 2 of them to the men on the gate. Badly, because he had learned them badly from me. Within a month, one of those gate men, could ask a 4-year-old if he wanted water. They did not talk about it. They just started being able to do it, and Minyu worked it out fast. He worked out that Erline answered. Then that Byung-Shul answered. Then that the man at the gate would answer if you got in front of him and were patient. He started going around the house, looking for people to make shapes at. That is what a child does when he finds out the world talks back. He goes looking for more of it. His grandmother saw the boy happier and told Erline the new speech therapist was working. The kitchen at that house is at the back, with a door onto the terrace. At 11 at night in August, that door stays open. I know that because I started staying late. Not every night. 2 nights a week I finished the lawn at 7 and sat in my truck until the house went quiet. Then I went in the back door where Erline had left it on the latch. She would put out cold chicken and a glass of something and go up to bed and leave me the room. On the 3rd of those nights, Seo Taejun came down. He stopped in the doorway when he saw me. I stood up. That is what you do when the man who owns the house finds you in his kitchen at 11 at night. He put his phone on the table between us, face up, notes app open. "Sit down," he typed. I sat down. Erline told me. I did not type anything. There was nothing to type that was not either a lie or a resignation. "Not to inform on you," he typed. She told me because she wanted me to see it. Then he put both hands out on the table, palms up. I want to describe those hands. They were not the hands of a man who has ever done anything with them. Good watch, clean nails, a ring, and a scar across 2 knuckles that did not come from any office. "Teach me," he typed. He was terrible. I have taught people. I taught Erline in 20 minutes. I taught a driver in 1 afternoon. Seo Taejun spent an hour and a half on 9 signs and got 4 of them, and he got them wrong every second attempt. Again, I typed. He did it again. Wrong. Your hand is closed. Open it. He did it again. Still closed. It is open, he typed. I typed. It is not. He looked at his own hand for a while, and then he did something I did not expect from a man like that. He pushed it across the table toward me, so I took it. I put my thumb under his palm and my fingers over the back of his hand, and I opened it. Then I moved it up to the right place near his chin. I held it there until he could feel where it was supposed to be. He was very still. Then he did it on his own, correctly, and I let go. We worked for another hour. He got a little better. Around 1 in the morning, he sat back and rubbed both eyes with the heels of his hands. Then he typed 1 line and turned the phone around. 4 years. Nobody in this house ever told me it was a language. I looked at that for a long time. Then I typed, "It is a language. It has grammar. It is not English on your hands. I know that now. You knew it an hour ago." He almost smiled. It did not get anywhere near the rest of his face. I did the last thing at 1:30. I had decided it on the drive over, and I am still not always sure it was right. I put my hands up and made a shape at him. Flat hand, moving down and settling, the way you put your palm on the back of a small head. He watched it, then he typed, "What is that? That is you. What does it mean?" I typed, "It is what you do. Every time you are near him, your hand goes to the back of his head. You do it without knowing. He has watched you do it his whole life." Seo Taejun went over that message 3 times. I counted. "Is this a nickname?" He typed, "No." "Then what is it?" I typed the truest thing I had. "It means the next time your son wants to tell somebody about you, he has something to use." He did not type anything back. He sat in that kitchen, with both hands flat on the table and his head down. I could see the muscle going in his jaw. So I did the thing I learned at 7 years old, in a room full of people who thought I could not tell. I looked away and let him have it. That is why neither of us saw the doorway. Han Myung-suk had been standing in it long enough to have watched the whole last part. She was 71 years old in a dressing gown, holding a glass of water she had come down for. She was not looking at her son. She was looking at my hands. She did not throw me out that night. She went back upstairs with her glass of water. She sent Byung-chul for me on the Sunday, which is not a lawn day. He came to my door in the car and stood on my step with his hat actually in his hands. She was on the terrace with a laptop open on the table and a chair already pulled out. There was a woman beside her I had not seen before, sitting slightly back, hands folded. An interpreter. A real one, certified, hired for the afternoon. That told me two things before anybody said a word. It told me she intended to have this conversation properly. And it told me she had known for at least a day, because you do not book one of those on a Sunday morning. Sit, she said, and the interpreter signed it, and I sat. Do you know what they told me at the hospital? No, ma'am. They told me to pick one. She had her hands flat on the table. The doctor said a deaf child cannot learn two systems at once. He said, if we sign, the boy will take the easy road and never speak. He said, choose and commit, and do not confuse him. She let that sit. Do you understand what I am telling you? I did not decide this in ignorance. I asked. I asked a specialist, and I did exactly what he said. I did not have anything to put against that, so I did not put anything. I took him to Atlanta twice a week for 2 years, she said. I sat in the car park and waited. I learned the exercises so I could do them at home. When my son could not come, I came. When the therapist moved, I found another one. I know, you do not know, she said it without heat. Everyone in this house is very sorry for that boy. I am the one who took him. That was true. That was completely true, and everybody in that story had been letting themselves off with it, including me. Then why did you never learn to talk to him? I said, because I was told it would take it away from him. She looked straight at me. You have that. You have had it your whole life. Do you know what it is like to be told the truth is the opposite? That the thing you want to give your grandchild will make his world small. I did. I typed nothing. The interpreter waited. I sat on that terrace, and I let myself get angry properly. For the first time in that whole summer, ma'am, I need to tell you something, and I am not going to say it kindly. Say it. I did not have a language until I was 7 years old. Her hands came off the table. My mother was told the same thing you were told. Different doctor, same sentence. She did what she was told for 7 years. I kept my hands steady, because I have learned to keep them steady. I was not a slow child. I was put in a room with slow children, because I had nothing to answer with. I stayed in that room until I was 14, because once you are in it, nobody checks. That is not what will happen to Min Yu. He has everything. He has everything, and he cannot tell you where it hurts. She did not answer that. I am not angry at you, I said, and it was about half true. I am angry at the man who told you. He is still working. He has an office and a diploma on the wall, and he says that same sentence to a new family every month. He will never see what it costs because none of you ever go back and show him. The interpreter's hands were shaking slightly. She kept going. The window is 5 years, I said. Not mine, not an opinion. That is what the research says. First language, any language, by 5. After that a person can learn, but it never sits the same way. He is 4.5. Han Myung-suk sat very still. You are telling me I have 6 months. I am telling you that you had 4 years, and you have 6 months. That was the cruelest thing I said that day. I have thought about it since, and I still do not know if I should have said it. She had not been careless. She had been obedient. Those are not the same thing, and I said it as if they were. I did the last part badly. I put both hands up in front of her and made one shape. 2 fingers, then a small closing movement near the shoulder. I typed it out afterwards, so she could see it in English. That is a name. It is yours if you want it. Your grandson will need one for you. She looked at my hands for a long moment. Then she said, "No, not angrily, not the way you refuse an insult. The way you refuse a chair when you have not decided yet whether you are staying in the room. No thank you," she said. I stood up. "Then I am finished here," I said. "You can find somebody else for the lawn." I do not know what I expected. That she would stop me, I suppose. Or that he would. Seo Taijun was standing at the top of the terrace steps and had been for a while. He had heard all of the last part. He looked at me, and he did not say anything, and he did not move. I walked past him, got in my truck, and drove home. I want to be clear about this, because it matters later. He did not stop me. He let me go. At the time, I thought it was cowardice. It took 3 days to understand what it was. A man who has spent his whole life making people stay had just let a woman leave his house without arranging it. It was 11 days before anybody came. I had already picked up 2 houses in Lawrenceville to cover the hours. That is the part nobody tells you about walking out of a room with your dignity still on you. You have to make up the money by Thursday, all the same. The car that pulled up outside my place on the Saturday was the black one. Byung-chul got out and opened the back door, and it was not her son. Han Myung-suk came up my front path in a good coat. She stood on my step and did not ask to come in. She held out a phone with a message already typed on it. "He made a shape at Erline on Wednesday." She did not know it. She wrote it down on a piece of paper for me. Nobody in my house could tell me what my grandson was trying to say. I looked at that message for a while. "It took me 4 days to find someone who could," she typed. "I paid a woman at the college to look at a drawing on a napkin." What was it? She did not type the answer. She put the phone down on the step, and she put both her hands up, badly, and she made the shape. It was mine. It was the sunglasses. He had been asking where I was. She picked the phone back up. "I have been sitting in my room for 11 days telling myself I was right," she typed. "I was not sitting there being stubborn. I was being afraid. If you are right, then I did this." I typed back. "The doctor did that." "I let him." "Yes," I typed. "So did my mother. She was afraid too, and she was wrong. I put her name in the ground with my own hands, and I loved her the whole time." She looked at that a long while. "I am not going to apologize," she typed. "I do not think it would be worth anything, and I have not earned it. No, ma'am, so I am going to ask instead." Then she held both her hands out on my front step, palms up, the way Erline had on the back step, and Byung-chul by the truck, and her son at the kitchen table. 71 years old, in her good coat, on a lawn worker's front step in Lawrenceville. I gave her the name back. She took it that time. "Here are my terms," and I made them before I got in the car, and I did not move on any of them. Twice a week for 1 year. Not lessons for the boy. Lessons for the house. All of it together in the same room, staff included. Both of them at every single session, the father and the grandmother. Not sending someone. Not watching from the doorway. In the room, hands up, getting it wrong in front of the staff like everybody else. Miss 2, and I stop coming. And they hire a deaf teacher inside of 6 months. A proper one. I cut grass for a living, and that child deserves better than the only person who ever showed up. Seo Taijun went through all 4 and typed 1 word back. Yes, then he typed a second message. "I would have paid you anything. You know that." "I know. You did not ask for money either time." I typed, "You have plenty of money. What you did not have was 6 people in a room." That was in September. The deaf teacher started in January. Her name is Adayez, and she is better than me. She gave Minyu a proper look and told me the boy was going to be fine, and I had to go and stand outside for a minute. The Saturday sessions kept going anyway. Nobody suggested stopping them. By the spring, Minyu had somewhere over 300 signs. That is not where he should be at 5. It is a very long way from where he was at 4, and in April, I was in that kitchen on a Saturday afternoon. Erline at the counter, Byung-chul at the table, Myung-suk in the good chair. Min-yu came in from the garden. He came straight to me. He was holding a dandelion, because he is that kind of child. He put it in my hand. Then he started telling me something with both hands going, the way he does now, too fast, and half of it wrong. And in the middle of it, he made a flat hand and moved it down and settled it, like a palm on the back of a small head. He was telling me about his father. His father was standing in the doorway behind him, with his car keys still in his hand. He had not seen when he had been spoken to. He had walked in on the ordinary middle of his son's afternoon and found himself inside it. Seo Tae-yoon stood in that doorway and did not make a sound, because he had finally learned that the important things in that house do not make one. I have thought a lot about what I gave that family, and the honest answer is that I did not give them anything. I just stopped being the only one in the room who was looking. His grandmother did exactly what the doctor told her to do. She did it for 4 years, and she never once left that boy's side. Was she wrong, or was she failed? Tell me below. I have never been able to answer it.